Do you live in a world filled with corporate data? Are you plagued by siloed departments? Are your lackluster growth strategies demolishing your chances for success? Are you held captive by the evil menace, Lord Lack? Lack of time, lack of strategy, and lack of the most important and powerful tool in your superhero tool belt, knowledge. Never fear, HubHeroes. Get ready to don your cape and mask, move into action, and become the Hub Hero your organization needs. Tune in each week to join the League of Extraordinary Inbound Heroes as we help you educate, empower, and execute. HubHeroes, it's time to unite and activate your powers.
By the way, if anybody's wondering, I don't have a bunion, and we are recording today. Although, Liz, it feels like the internet gremlins do not want this episode to come out, and it's crazy. But let's roll with this.
Like, it's actually making me wonder if the reason why we haven't talked about this topic yet is some sort of big sprocket conspiracy. Like somebody doesn't want this information to get out.
I know.
Somebody doesn't want us to talk about this because we actually have a hilarious problem, guys. So last week I was doing a little auditing of our topics, just taking a look at things we had done, things we hadn't done. And
we've done a lot, by the way.
We have done a lot. Yeah. And we've done so much that sometimes we'll come back and talk about things multiple times from multiple angles. We had multiple HubSpot email tool episodes, multiple HubSpot social media tools, multiple commerce hub.
I mean, listen, Jack Cooper Smith has been on the show 3 times. Let's just throw that out there.
Yes, he has. And guys, do you know what we haven't done?
I feel so bad right now. I feel like I'm going to get judged by the entire community right now.
We have literally never spoken a single breath of oxygen about landing pages before.
How
landing pages.
I don't understand how this is that we have never talked about this.
I don't either. We've even talked about the blogging tool twice, guys.
No. Yes, we have. We went into settings and talked about AI settings.
And an individual episode per setting.
And not landing pages. What?
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed and mad. Do you get what I'm saying?
That was before I got here.
Chad, you were in the studio
all
audience.
Of the blame.
No, you were in the studio audience, and not once did we get a little Chad note that said, "Hey, have you guys ever thought about talking about landing pages?"
Right.
Nice try, Kimasabi.
Nobody was helping us out.
The only time I mess with landing pages was when somebody wants to store a cookie in the browser or do something weird,
that's funny.
Technical code wise. They don't ask me about that kind of stuff, so it wasn't even on my radar, if I'm going to be completely honest.
If the words hidden field and cookie come up, then Chad gets tagged in.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I'm looking for a dialogue between you and me, George. It's going to be great.
Well, I got questions.
Or the third party caller that just called in from your desktop.
Spam ? Telemarketer. I'm sure they have a lot to say about landing pages. You know what, guys? We're doing
maybe they
great
need
today.
some.
We're doing great today, but we are finally bringing oxygen, some light to this very necessary topic. Landing pages are building blocks in the inbound world. They are foundational. They are to the point where I would probably say they are taken for granted, much in the way that we overlooked them. So today, that ends. We are diving into the evolution of landing pages. What's changed, what hasn't, and what sales and marketing teams need to be thinking about when building high-performing landing pages in HubSpot. We ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this. All right, so I want to start by looking backward. Landing pages have been around forever, not just in inbound marketing, just in marketing in general.
Yeah.
From your perspective, and George, I'll start with you. What has fundamentally remained the same, and what has changed the most?
Well, I mean, listen, the reason that we might have forgot about these is because most mere mortal humans think of them in simple terms or don't even think of them at all, or definitely don't think of them in a pair of pages, because literally we're like, let's talk about landing pages. Well, it has to be landing pages and thank you pages, by the way, but we'll get to that. It's always been about this focused conversion That hasn't changed. Like there's this thing and we need them to know them about this thing. And it's also always been about capturing attention and then being able to communicate the value of what it is on the page quickly and then drive a specific action. So like if you think about it, like how do we have this focused thing that grabs attention, communicates the value, and drives them to the action that we want? So like, and so you'll hear like call to action. When I say call to action on the landing page, though, it's somewhat copy, but it's also very much like the button is the thing that you want them to click. And sometimes I really feel like people will just like throw these together real quick. Like we'll spend weeks, months on ebook, a guide, a checklist, demo process, training. Mm-hmm. Let's spend 3 hours and train all the sales reps on how to do. And then it's like we put the landing page out. It's like bleep, but so we don't take the time to do it, right? So that's what it's kind of always been about. Now we live in a world now where I think we have. If you're not thinking about how AI is impacting the creation or the enablement of your landing pages, if you're not thinking about how smart content is actually leveraged for your landing pages, if you're not thinking about the fact that we humans now have zero time for fluff. So think of personalization, dynamic, more of an experience, less of a landing place. I'll stop there.
Chad.
Hi. How's it going?
Hi.
Well, I don't traditionally know if I have the context to say like historically what things have been and what are, right, or what are currently, because I don't really do a whole lot of content marketing. But I do have a couple, like, I want to frame and understand where landing pages have belonged in the world, but I want to do it from the perspective of like how you hook up landing pages to HubSpot and stuff, right? So let's say you're using HubSpot CMS, right? Well, you hook up your main domain and then, hey, she found her mouse.
I found my mouse.
Oh, it's a great day.
Sick. Go ahead.
Okay.
You know you're winning when you're happy about finding your mouse in a day.
Oh,
this is amazing.
We're doing great, guys.
Do you have to plug it in on the underneath side real quick to charge it so you still can't use it, or is it good? No, we're good? Okay.
We're good.
Which, by the way, if we're talking about user experience, can I just, because Chad, dang on it, you derailed us. In what universe?
Yeah, Chad, it was definitely not me holding up the mouse. Way to go.
In what universe does it make sense to have the plug-in to charge your mouse on the bottom of the mouse so you can't use... All right, we're here to talk about landing pages.
Okay, so I'll be perfectly honest. My mouse only needs to be charged once every like 4 or 5 months, and I just plug it in overnight, and then I don't have to do it again for another 4 to 5 months.
But what if it actually dies when you're in the middle of something? Then you're just
I have multiple nieces.
Multiple niece.
Or you just take a break, I guess. Anyway, not why we're
Anyway,
here.
So yes, Chad, landing pages and such.
Yes, courage. Right, got it.
Courage.
That's the Apple joke. All right. Anyway, so like you hook up, so you have HubSpot CMS, right? Hook up your domain to your website, and then you have landing pages, and there's like some level of like CMS is paid, but you could still kind of use landing pages a little bit, even if you're not on CMS paid, if you have Marketing Hub. And then like landing pages are usually intended to be hooked up to a subdomain. So like, landing.yourdomain.com or whatever. So like, aren't landing pages just an extension of your CMS website in general? And like, really, it's just a website page. It's just how the formatting is. That's really the only difference, right?
Well, so see, and now you're bumping into something that has always confused people historically. Like, by the way, if you have a third-party CMS, WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, whatever, you're right. You go into HubSpot, it's a subdomain. And I always used to tell people, like, listen, it should be something like education dot or academy dot, or it's because let's be honest, usually the folks that are getting a HubSpot back in the day, They're because it's marketing, and they want to be able to do landing pages because they want an ebook, a guide, a check, some type of conversion point. And so, yes, it is.
They want to be able to track it well,
right? And be able to track it. So, yes, it is a page, but it is also a page that is specially built to have different analytics than your normal average bear, which is, again, a piece that historically people didn't realize is that CTAs were built so that you could see they got viewed, they got clicked, and there was a submission on a landing page afterwards, right? So that was the precursor to get them there and understand the metrics of your call to actions of like viewed, clicked, and submitted. Then you'd get to the landing page. And again, that's going to pull in the information around the conversion. So viewed, submitted, like, and next steps, right? And so here's the thing. The question that I would always get is like, so where do these live on my website? Like, well, they live in a subdomain, but here's the thing. You could create a page called a resource center, and you could have cards on that resource center, and it could then go to your landing pages where they could convert, because then you're going to bring them back to the website with a thing called a thank you page where you're going to deliver. And so like it became a whole.
Also the CTAs in your articles and other places that you can.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. So it's
so CTAs are like an entry point that get you out into the landing page, and then the landing page does something or has some sort of value, and then that brings them back to the website.
Yeah. And here I got to hit upon this. By the way, I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. We had a guest in the show notes, not here today, but in the show notes. Our boy Devin saw the topic and started going ham. And Chad and I were even laughing in the green room before we hit record on one of the things, Liz, historically that was a best practice that irritates the crap out of, I think, most of us at this point. And that is historically landing pages, you would hide the navigation.
Dude, you're skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead.
Well, okay. So, all right.
I don't know if I can keep this frustration bottled up.
Well, I want to at least give my answer to the first.
All right, go ahead, Liz. Go ahead, Liz. Answer it, then we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
Bottle it up. Okay, got it.
I also have thoughts and feelings about this. So when I think about what's fundamentally stayed the same, the purpose of the landing page. The landing page is to make the pitch on the value of the thing that you have behind the landing page. That has not changed. What has changed the most is what is considered valuable and how you tell the story of that value.
Is what is considered a conversion changing?
Oh, that's probably a whole nother episode, bro. Like, to be honest with you, I mean, my mind goes in so many different ways because I don't even know where to start with that. I'm going to shut up. Liz, keep going.
No,
sorry.
It's okay. It's totally okay. It's what's fascinating about it is when you think about the landing page, it has existed before there was a HubSpot. Like, landing pages are not, a HubSpot invention. And all it has been is you will give us some information, we'll give you the thing, right? And when I take a look at how landing pages have evolved in terms of best practices and in terms of what we're doing on them and in terms of what we're putting behind them, even what we're putting behind them has changed. Like, we've had whole conversations at different organizations I've worked at about, like, do we even put anything behind a gate anymore? And we still have some people who are like, everything still has to go behind a gate. But consumers there's a higher threshold you kind of have to get over with them in order to get that transaction of information, because we've had too many years of not great stuff behind the wall, or quite frankly, bad storytelling at the front that doesn't tell what it is. So those are like my high level thoughts. But George, you did start going into our next question, and I'm very excited to talk about this one because I think this is where we're going to have a lot of feelings come up. And that's the outdated landing page practices that people are still clinging to. And you tapped into the number one. So let's get back to this story here.
I'm not going to go with that one first, though. We'll swing back around with that because I feel like you guys have a bunch to say around it, too. So first of all, one of the things that I have to mention that I still see, if I get to your landing page and you want my right arm or my firstborn child for the thing that you believe is the most valuable thing on the planet that I can download. Meaning, if you have 10 fields on your form, no, I have stuff to do today. I know that will take me too long. Especially if you're not using progressive profiling, right? Meaning if it's like, you already know my name. I've been to your website 17 times. Why is my first name not in that field? Why do I have to type it again? Like, you're not making it simple for me. You're creating a hurdle in the way. So like that more fields equals better lead qualification. Can I call bull on that one? I'm just saying more fields.
Where's that whoopsie jar?
Yeah, whoops. We need a sound effect like whoopsie or something like that.
Yeah,
that we
a
can
little
just like hit the button
slip or something.
Yeah. Ow. So yeah, let's start with that. Like more fields does not equal better lead qualification, and there are better ways to get those pieces of information over time. Progressive profiling, dependent fields, queued fields, like. So you don't feel like you have to collect it all at once. You can collect it over time. So I'll start there, and then I'll pass the baton to somebody else to complain about outdated landing page practices, since I already queued up one and maybe even have more.
Chadwick, hit us with it.
Sure. I mean, I was, trying to tap into my inner Devin because I was thinking the same thing before he even put it in the notes, right? About like when I get to a landing page, and I think this may go back to like people are trying to build a path for the specific person that they think is on their landing page, right? But I'm never that person. Like, you know how like in the YouTube app or in different Google things, they have like this little button called Stats for Nerds. And like you can watch it and it shows you like the real time bit rate and like the throughput of the video and like all this like nerd stuff and a graph and all these things. Like, because I'm never like the manager or the CEO. I'm just the person who's trying to help that person. And like when I get to a landing page and there's no main nav, it is the most frustrating thing. It's like when a marketer tries to send Devin an SMS text, if you ever heard that episode, and Devin went ballistic talking about like, don't send me a text, not unless it's like I asked you to tell me when my food's gonna get here, right? Yeah. Or whatever. It's like basically the same thing. Like I'm stuck on this page and I can't just go explore your website unless I literally leave and like search your website again. And like at that point, I'm just going to click on your Google ad because I'm frustrated. Get out of here. You're going to charge you $5 or $10 for that, just for the privilege of making me have to come back a second time.
So let me talk about this for a second, because I have taught this air quotes best practice, not recently, but for years. And when we would teach this best practice, it literally would be like, hey, make sure you've got your logo on the page, but it's not linked, to anywhere. You want to get them to the landing page. The only thing you want is to give them the form. Make sure there's no links in your footer. Because what we want to do with the stupid humans is treat them like cattle, and we're going to actually herd them through the form to get to the green pasture of the thank you page. Now I'm waxing a little bit funny, but not funny, of like, that's you're basically saying remove all distraction, point them in the only place they go, because this is how much faith we believe that they can figure out. What? Wait, like, first of all, that doesn't come from a place of love. That doesn't come from a place of servanthood. That doesn't come from a place of like, good, what I would call good marketing. Now, was it a tactic and strategy that worked back in the day? Heck to the yes. Is it something that I believe that we should continue to do moving forward? I really don't think so. If they don't want your ish, they don't want your ish. But at least create the ish, because if they want it, then they'll convert on it if you don't have 10 fields in the form. Like, this is something I believe that should die, honestly. My personal opinion. I think it should die.
My personal opinion,
Uh-oh.
stop putting crap behind a landing page. Like, so often, the problem with your landing page has nothing to do with the landing page. It's what you're trying to shove behind it. If it's garbage, if it's flimsy, if it's one-dimensional, your landing page will be garbage, flimsy, and one-dimensional. It'll look like a used car salesman trying to be like, no, it's totally fine that this Mercedes is $10. Don't worry about it. Like, that's what it's going to come off like.
It's never been wrecked.
So that.
So it's funny that you're bringing that up, Liz.
Okay, go ahead.
It's funny that you're bringing that up because the amount of times I've seen a pillar page convert for somebody to download the PDF version of it and take it with them because it wasn't behind a gate. There was a way to add the service of you can take this thing with you if you want, but you can read the whole thing here. It's kind of crazy, like why more people. I mean, there are some people that are listening to this that have done that, but there are some people listening to this still holding on to the everything has to be gated scenario. But like it can be ungated gated, which is fun too. Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
No, that's how I've always done it. I love that you brought up pillar pages. So like I've been doing pillar pages now, for a very, very long time. Back when they used
undisclosed
to be very, very
number of
new.
times.
It's like
That's
8
funny.
years. I
It's
don't know.
It's been a long time. That's how long it's been.
Oopsie jar. And
Oh, sorry, I was saying it with
one of my favorite
the
things
Morse code.
Morse code.
You literally have like 12,000 words of whatever topic it is that you're talking about. At the top, you have like your introduction, you explain what it is, and then a little tiny box that says, hey, if you want to download this PDF to read it later, you're good. Go for it. And my landing pages that were pillar pages regularly had 30% plus conversion rates, which is 10% over the standard benchmark for B2B regularly. Like that. So there's that piece of it. The other thing I will say is the inverse of what I just said. You have something fantastic behind your landing page. And you have the flimsiest, saddest landing page I've ever seen. Are you an accountant? You'll really like this ebook. It's about accounting. Yeah. In this, you will learn about accounting trends. You will learn about accounting do's and don'ts. And so much more. And that's it. Do you know what I'm saying? And they all look the same. It's like headline, little subheader, 3 or 4 bullets. Somebody who's like, I'm just trying to check this off of my to-do list. You know, it's just, it's thoughtless.
It's like you, and this is where I get frustrated because again, and I leaned into this at the beginning of this episode, but you spend so much time creating the awesome thing and then you turd out the piece that is most important. Like you literally turd out the thing that they have to like embrace it with. And so there's like no storytelling. There's a weak or unclear call to action. Like that you just, this is the thing that always used to freak me the flip out too, is like, talk about the CTAs on the bottom of the blog that Liz mentioned earlier. People will spend like 15 minutes throwing that piece of garbage together thinking that people are just going to automatically click it. No, like spend 7 hours on your guide and then spend 14 hours on your call to action and your landing page. Those aren't real numbers.
Right.
I'm just telling
it's
a
just
story
ratios.
Here.
Yeah. You spend a good amount of time on both. You got to care about both, right?
Yes.
Now, George, I think this might be a good time to circle back to that story that you wanted to tell us.
Oh, I told the herding cattle. I did. That is that what you mean?
The navigation.
Yeah. We talked about the no navigation. Okay. Yeah. Herding cattle. I was anyway.
Like people aren't smart enough to figure out how to get the content you want them to get.
I'm not trying to herd cattle anymore. I'm just not. Listen, I'm from Montana. I'll hop on a horse. I'll herd some cattle, just not through my landing pages. I'm done with that.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because Devin, our guy, mentioned one other thing that I thought was really powerful about like, please stop doing this.
Yeah.
Which was when you go to convert on a single thing in a landing page, like I am here to convert on this one piece of product, this one content property, whatever it is that you're trying to give me. And one of the things that he mentioned is like, stop asking for me to sign up for 18,000 other things at the same time. Stop doing that. Stop showing me if I want to favorite it. Stop trying to get like, I think what happens is that marketers are like, well, while we're here, while we have your peepers, right? Can we get you to do these 18 other things? And it's a bad user experience. I can feel that you're trying to maximize that touch point. And in some cases, a simple like, would you also like to subscribe to our newsletter? Fine. But when we have too many other things going on, I think that gets problematic because it's less about the user experience and more about trying to maximize the value you're getting from that touch point.
During the conversion point, I totally agree. And I've seen those forums where it's like 4 other check boxes. I'd also like to subscribe to these other 17 things.
That.
Like, no. Yeah. Now, here's what I don't
just
want people to
everything.
Oh my God. Yeah, never mind. I decided I don't want any of it. Forget it. I'll go down the road. Thank you. Because by the way, your offer, it does exist down the road. There is a Target or Walmart to your like whatever you are. I'm just going to throw that out there real quick. So here's the thing. I want to be careful because I don't want anybody to misconstrue something that might be going through their brain right now. During the conversion, yes, I agree with Devin. I agree that there shouldn't be like these other 4 additional check marks for your other 3 subscription newsletters and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. However, let's talk about the thing that needs to be there. And that is, please, by all that is holy, do not just have inline text in that form, but go to a thank you page. And when you go to the thank you page, this is what I want to make sure that we get out here is, yes, the first thing should be like, hey, thanks for your interest in XYZ. You give them a big button. They can easily download it. And by the way, that's where a lot of people's thank you pages end. And that's not cool. Again, if I come from a place of good marketing, good experience, because of love, because of servanthood, because I'm value first, because I'm, human-centric content creation, I want you to continue the journey. And that continuing the journey might look different depending on what the conversion was that they just had. For instance, if I convert on an ebook, a guided checklist, a webinar, whatever, the thank you page might be like, here's the thing, the webinar video, the download button, whatever. But there needs to be a journey of like, by the way, people who are interested in this also like these blog articles, also watch these videos, also download these other things, whatever it is. But think of this page being able to be a bunch of other resources, a bunch of choose your own adventures, if you will, for them to spend more time educating themselves on the thing that they're trying to learn or the brand that is providing the thing that they're trying to learn. Like, again, spend more time on the experience of the thank you page, maybe than you did on the actual like thing. Or at definitely the landing page in CTA. But here's what I want to think in your brain is the expectations. Like if this is a demo, well, then what are the next actions? What's the time frame? What's the expectations? Is there anything I need to gather? Do I need to bring set them up for success, whether it's through an educational journey or the next meeting that they're going to have with you.
Yeah. You know, what's kind of frustrating about, like using a embedded HubSpot meeting is because it's kind of like an iframe and it's like embedded, right? It's very difficult to pass the chosen meeting time data out to your website to use it as variables in the landing page. So like, or in the thank you page, like, thanks for booking with Billy at blah, blah, blah time, right? That would be amazing to be able to do, just to personalize some things or even put conditions, between now and your meeting, check out these articles or whatever, anyway, just like, or any specific topics they chose or something like that they wanted to cover could drive what things you're going to show them. And for example,
you can do some of that from like, if they do this in the form, then go to this page, which then you could have some of that stuff. But I understand what you're saying. Also, you reminded me of a thing that I haven't talked about forever is like, if you're using HubSpot for your form conversion, there is also a way that you can embed the meeting widget in the actual like inline text area. So you can, again, if you start to think of user experience, I can have it where they can fill out a form, and at the same place where they filled out a form, they can now book that meeting. And once they book that meeting, I can then send them to a thank you page. Like, holy crap, make it easy for me to actually get on your calendar.
Well, without them having to fill in the data in the meeting link again. HubSpot like natively added a thing that's supposed to do that too, but you have to be on certain plans. If you don't have some certain plan, then you can't use that feature. Yeah, as always.
Started.
So I have one more question too.
Plans, I swear.
I have a question.
George is in a mood today.
Yeah, yes, I love it. About like okay, so gates, right? And just going back to like gating things, gating everything, not gating everything, or simultaneously gating and not gating, right? So you put like a conversion to, but it's actually technically not gated or whatever. So in a world where like a lot of our answers are not just coming from Google search, but they're coming from Google McScraper bot at the top, and people aren't actually going into web pages as much. If your content is behind a gate and Google McScraper bot isn't going to fill out your form to get your content to give said answers, then are you shooting yourself in the foot? Because then the AI models that actually scrape public content aren't going to be able to have answers and cite you as a source.
So well, your question,
I know that's like evolving right now.
Yeah, your question leads me into a couple of different places. One, it is definitely another push for the pillar page landing page where they can take the PDF with them, because again, you're putting the content out there. It also is something where I would just fundamentally think about the process in how you're showing up for the world as well. Do I want to talk about this?
Yeah.
So listen, one of the things that you can do right now is you can go to georgebthomas.com/helper, and you'll see a page that you can hit a button, and it'll take you to another page where you can start to ask any question that you want to my clone. Now, why am I bringing up my clone? One, when you have a clone that holds all of the content that you've ever created, you start to create content in a different way. When you have a clone that people, after a certain amount of messages for free, they put in their email address, so they can continue to get the value out of all the content you've created, you start to think about conversion in a different way and value based on the content you're creating. Because you know that the conversion is taken care of and you're adding value first through the clone that you've created based on the content you've created over the last 12 years, you also realize that you create content different because you're not so much worried about the content or the download, but the use of the content or the download that once was there. And here's the fun part, is that inside of this system, you can also just fundamentally, if they mention a word, you can give them the guide in there because you already know that they've already converted. So for instance, you might be able to go over to my clone and mention something like WordPress versus HubSpot CMS. Guess what we have? We have on the website, a gated version and a pillar page gated version of that. But if you're already talking to the clone and you mention it, it'll actually serve you up a link just to download the dang PDF. Here's another thing I'll say. This is, and again, I'm going sideways, but when you start to think about what's fundamentally changing around this, the fact that you can now have sales sequences that align to campaigns that could use documents that are the marketing PDFs, you start to think about the conversion differently because the reporting actually is swinging back on the hind end of being able to see what. So like we live in a world where we need to start just rethinking it all.
Yeah, it's not just website into CRM is conversion anymore. It's marketing content into customer ultimately.
Yeah. And listen, this isn't the first time I played with this. I literally had I won't drop their name, but I had a major player in the HubSpot, like in HubSpot, say, I really love your conversion strategy with your community. What do you mean? I'm just building a community. Oh, no. You're generating emails. Whoa, of course I am, but I'm building a community. No. That's slick how you make it do this. And then they go here. And then I'm like, well, I'm a marketer. Like, but here's the thing, like it's evolving, right? So by the way, I'm going to step out on a limb. I know this is about landing pages, but I'm getting to the place where I even am curious about community in the next couple of years, to be honest with you. And I'm the community guy. I start to ask myself, do I need to have a community if I have a clone? And did people sign up for the community to get access to me and the education? And if that lives somewhere else, streamlined and more optimized, would they go there instead of here? Like, anyway, let's get back to landing pages. That was a rant.
No, that was really interesting. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I actually want to, you started talking a little bit about AI there, bud. And I want to stay on the AI train a second, but more from a tools perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because HubSpot has rolled out a lot of new AI-driven tools and smart content features. And smart content features have been around for a while.
But
how can businesses, based on what we're discussing, in terms of what value truly looks like today, how can businesses actually leverage these to optimize landing pages in a way that probably wasn't possible 5 years ago?
Well, I mean, listen, not all of us are a Liz or name your favorite writer, and so AI is getting really good at creating copy in a way that it's better than many mere mortal humans who can't afford to have a content strategist or a writer on staff. Like, it's just going to make it better because you could listen to an episode like this, or you could do a Google search and you could get the information that is landing page copy best practices, storytelling best practices, and then be able to create copy that you look at and go, wow, that's way better than I would have written it. So just in that alone, and then also getting it to look at like, hey, I've created this landing page and this is the call to action. Can you tell me if this is like amazing or does it suck hindwind, right? It by the way, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't care about hurting your feelings. If you ask it a legit question, it might be like, well, this could probably use some help, right? And so like doing that, I think is even interesting. And by the way,
that's always a humbling experience, even for me as a writer. So I don't use it from like a generative perspective, but I do have it like take a look at things that I've created, just like give me the little oncey over, right? And there have been moments where it's like, so if you considered the opposite of everything you've just given me, and that is a deeply humbling experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing I'll throw in here too, because we have talked about like brand voice and AI content and AI settings. I don't want to talk a lot about it yet because I haven't started playing with it, but I have had communication as of yesterday with a PM that is unlocking the next version of AI powered content creation in my portal. So they're just like we had wished, they're going deeper with what they've built. They're going deeper what they built. So I think this
did they watch our episode?
Huh?
Did they watch our episode? It sounds like it.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? But they're going deeper. There's a beta, and I'm super excited. And so, again, you have to think about how can you use AI to create better copy, better call to actions, better experiences. And you have to fundamentally understand that you can train it on what are all of the like best practices, and then you can tweak it as a human to what you believe to be the best practices for your organization. Because it's, by the way, this whole conversation, we can't do this conversation be like, by the way, this is a one size fits all landing page episode. Now, these are things that you should think about and then tweak and make it for like your organization. You might need to gate everything. You might need to not gate a dang thing. Like, it depends.
I actually was reading through Devin's like little footnotes, and I really like what he was mentioning about like, you just don't have to be a full beans developer or full beans designer anymore. You can get a lot of that context. Like, if I had to, I could probably do fairly decent utilizing either some of HubSpot's tools or other resources, AI-driven resources out there, just to give me a leg up and to be able to make an effective marketing campaign. It might take me a while if I wanted to just not put out mediocre dump, onto the internet, because you have to do a lot of follow-up and make sure that you're having it help you consider stuff you just don't know. Because when you're doing something new for the first time, you have all these unknown unknowns in what you're doing, right? And so is always asking that second, what am I not thinking about, is a really, really key thing when working with like those AI kind of tools. It'll really help you consider stuff you never thought of. And being able to do it quickly is also, like, I mean, if I had to learn all that, it's literally what George was just talking about. Like, if I had to learn all that on my own and go into a whole new skill set, it would take me forever and a day to really put out something that I was proud of. Right. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I think it's such a leg up.
And by the way, let's not even talk about, because again, the landing page is about the conversion. We already said that hasn't changed. Think about like lead scoring based on that conversion. Mm-hmm. Also think about HubSpot having the chat bots, or think of like a conversational form, or think about the fact that you probably have landing pages out there right now that have the old HubSpot legacy form. And what would happen if you actually turned that into a multi-step form? Like there's so many different things that you could go and tweak and change. And there's next steps or outcomes, workflows based on the conversion. Like how many people out there right now have a landing page that when they fill out a form, it's inline text to a link to where they can download the freaking guide, versus a landing page that goes to a thank you page that triggers a workflow that sends a 3 email series that then now you all of a sudden you can score on, did they open any of those 3 emails and they filled out the form, and how much time did they spend on the thank you page, and did they go to any other resources off of that thank you page, and how much time did they spend there? And like now all of a sudden you're starting to pay attention to like the journey of the human and the score of the
I like thinking about the journey of what the person's going through, because like a lot of times we're just like, okay, I'm gonna find somebody who's gonna be a project manager for a thing, and they're gonna find my page and they're gonna go here and they're gonna see something valuable, and great. But like actually thinking about their whole experience of going through that, literally like what we were just talking about, of having the form feed a meeting link, and then like ultimately I'd love to have that meeting data feed the landing page to give a wonderful experience all the way through, right? And like thinking about that perspective, I think is what is really changing with landing pages and stuff too, because actually caring about the person going through the journey helps them feel like they're not just a part of your engine to churn out leads, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So one of the things I did, and same. So one of the things I did, before we run out of time, Liz, you got me on this kick of like best practices, frameworks, mindsets. Like we talked about this 2 years ago, and I'm just kind of. So I was curious because I had never really heard, amazingly, like about a HubSpot talk about like a framework for landing pages. And so I was like, hey, let's see if there's a framework out there. And so wider funnel, a lift model, you guys can look this up and let me know but at the end of the day, they have 6 things that you might want to pay attention to. So value proposition, right? So is the offer compelling and clearly communicated? This is why I have many conversations with Liz, like, Liz, am I clearly like, do people understand it, or am I just being
stupid? Well, that's the thing. Here? I love that you brought that up. I just want to add a quick thing in here. We make an assumption that the value will be obvious. Mm-hmm. We make an assumption that when people show up to evaluate whether or not they want to give us their personal information for something, that the value we are presenting is obvious and our trust has already been earned. No. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So value proposition is the offer compelling and clearly communicated. Clarity is the message easy to understand, and does it quickly explain the benefits? The benefits.
Love those bennies. We love those bennies.
To the reader, by the way, not to you. The next one is relevance. Does the landing page match the expectations of the visitor from the ad, the email, whatever referral sources? Does it make sense? Urgency, is there a reason to act now? Limited time offer, deadline, scarcity, some type of piece in there. Anxiety. This one is, are there trust signals, security assurances, and testimonials to reduce hesitation? And then
one of my favorite things that I've seen is like when people put landing page videos on their landing pages, and they're literally like, I'm literally just going to use your email for this newsletter, and then I'm never going to use it for anything else. And I'm not going to sell it. And that's it. That's all that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say, though, about the creating urgency, I somewhat disagree with that. I think if there is no urgency, don't fake it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I also think sometimes instead of creating, I think sometimes when we think of the idea of creating urgency, we think around it from the perspective of, well, it's a limited time, or it's a thing, or it's this. Actually, think about the urgency that's happening in their world, right? Create urgency around their pain point. Again, not scare tactic. If you have XYZ questions, these questions, XYZ, the answers are right here.
Yeah.
This is what you need. This is going to take this exponential pain and make it bitty, right? Like, just speak to the truth. Yeah. And I think that's where the urgency comes from.
I totally agree. I love that. And so number 6 is distraction. And so, like, HubHeroes listeners, what I would want you to do is grab your notepad, a document, and go to your landing pages later today and look value proposition, clarity, relevance, urgency, anxiety, distraction. Okay, let me put it up against this framework and see where they stand, and what do I need to tweak or change, and how will that impact, next quarter, next year, all of that, these changes that you might make.
Good.
So guys, here's what we're going to do. We made a joke about it earlier, about how we've done multiple episodes about multiple things. Guess what we're going to be talking about next week, guys? Landing pages. Because we only got through half of our questions today. Half. And quite frankly, this conversation we've had has led me to other questions I want to ask you. We haven't talked about landing pages in the shortened attention span era. We haven't even gotten to A/B testing. I have a whole monologue about smart content that we're not going to be able to fit into today. So guys, I'm really excited we started this conversation. I want you both to think about, you guys have homework for this week, and so do I. Find great landing pages.
Wow.
And find not so great landing pages. We're not in the business of naming names and calling people out, but come with some examples. That's what we're looking for next week. I know. Look at you, George.
I mean,
you're dealing with landing pages every day.
There's a plethora of ways that I could probably get us canceled.
That's why we don't name names. We don't name names. We're here to encourage growth and learning opportunities. And I say this as a woman who got yelled at by AI once about her own writing capabilities. So we're fine. But with that, George, as we end part 1 of our landing pages journey, what do you want people to be walking away with today? Whether that's one thing or 5 things. I'm feeling generous.
Oh, wow. That's nice of you. So, because I had multiple. So one of the things is definitely use that framework that we talked about. But I want you, when you're using that framework, I want you to think about your landing page in this way too. Is it focused on one single goal? We kind of jokingly talked about how it's like, and these 3 other subscriptions in this thing. What is the hashtag one thing? What's its job to do? Right. And then, is it doing that, first of all? Yes, no. Okay, well, we need to fix that. Now let's use the framework to go ahead and hone in on the other pieces. My second one that I just can't let go is use thank you pages, and thank you pages should continue the journey, not end it. So many thank you pages I get to feel like it's just like the destination, the parking lot for the conversation. Thank you pages have to continue the journey. Go look at all your thank you pages. If you're not saying things like, here's additional webinars, here's additional podcasts, here's additional videos, here's additional blog articles, then you need to be doing that. By the way, you have to create that to be able to send them to it. I'm just saying. So start creating that right now so that you can act. Anyway.
You know this means we need an episode about thank you pages, right? Just throw that out there.
Well, we need an episode to get these people generate. Anyway, never mind.
We need an episode. Pimp My Ride.
I have such an
episodes.
Oh my God, I have such an interesting conversation I want to have around sitting at a table and somebody seeing my clone being created based on 12 years of historical content creation, to which they immediately said, I need to start creating content yesterday. And since the meeting that we had been aggressively creating content because it was an unlock for them. Like so many organizations I bump into that are using HubSpot and they don't have the inbound engine. They don't have the human-centric value-first content creation, like soul, not why we're here. Anyway, go check out your landing pages. Make sure your thank you pages continue on the journey and let us know if you found a thank you page that you just want us, or landing page that you want us to rip apart in front of everybody, because I doubt if you want it, but we'll do it. Okay, Hub Heroes, we've reached the end of another episode. Will Lord Lack continue to loom over the community, or will we be able to defeat him in the next episode of the Hub Heroes Podcast? Make sure you tune in and find out in the next episode. Make sure you head over to thehubheroes.com to get the latest episodes and become part of the League of Heroes. FYI, if you're part of the League of Heroes, you'll get the show notes right in your inbox, and they come with some hidden power-up potential as well. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend, leave a review if you like what you're listening to, and use the hashtag HubHeroes Podcast on any of the socials, and let us know what strategy conversation you'd like to listen into next. Until next time, when we meet and combine our forces, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human, and of course, always be looking for a way to be some